All right, real quick, here it is. Taking a email from Tint Happens from Kane, and we're going to take his EPS file and take it all the way to making a G code for 3D printing. So we're going to save his EPS file. I'm going to create a folder here and with my other 3D printing stuff for Tint Happens. And we're just going to cut it from my download folder and paste it there. Then we'll go into, let's open up Tinkercad and see if Tinkercad can import an EPS file. So open a new 3D design, and then we'll go to import. We'll choose the file. There, Tint Happens. It's not coming up, so it's not going to import an EPS file into Tinkercad. You can see the supported types down there, OBJ, STL. So I have another program that I use to set up some 2D files. This shortcuts a lot. I used it for vinyl cutting. And we'll open a new project. I use 12 by 12. It's a standard size. And we'll find the EPS file here, and we'll try to import it. Right, and there it is in its original size. And then we'll try to resize it. I like to go over to the right here and use the position size. That way it keeps the dimensions locked. Okay, just holding the button is a little slow. So I'll go in and set this for, I don't know, we'll say 200 millimeters. Tab, and then there we go. It's automatically resized, same proportions. So then what I like to do with the 3D printing is to create a base layer, like a background. So we'll go into, let me see if I can remember what it is. Object, or I know it's in the effects. It is, no, I always think it's drop shadow, but it's actually not drop shadow. So let's undo that. And under effects, it is shadow layer. Yep. There's a couple different types of shadow layer in here. We'll change the color so we can see it better. You can see the red part is the shadow. We could change the size of it. I like to bring it up a little bit to make it a little more pronounced and to fill in the layers in between the letters there. You see how inside the T and between the T and the H, it fills in. You can round off the corners. I like the rounded corners on this. It looks pretty good. Straight corners, it does some weird stuff sometimes. So whatever looks better. I like the rounded there. Down here we can do this. You change the size. You can do this blackout shadow thing too. And what that does, it kind of fills in, even if you go to a smaller outline, it still fills in those sections in the middle a little bit. So we'll see what looks good there. See, the blackout fills that in there. So you don't have to go so big with the outline. So, and then I'll change that to an outline only, because that's the only line we want for that. And we'll separate it, and we'll save these as two different files. So we'll select one object at a time, go to export, find our folder, 3D printing, Tint Happens. Where are you? There you are. And we'll call this the logo, TH logo 1. And we want just that selection only, right? And then we'll go up here and we'll select the outline, and we'll do the same thing. We'll export it. We just change the file name so we know it's the shadow file. So we'll do TH logo shadow. Selection only. Make sure you only select that object, or else it's going to save everything on the workspace there. So now we'll go back into Tinkercad and we'll try to import these. So choose a file, find your file. There we go. We'll do the shadow first because that's going on the bottom. Now, no matter what you set these as when you save it, like I saved it for 200 millimeters, it's going to come out huge on here. I don't know why Tinkercad does this. It loads the files in way bigger than the workspace. So there it is. I think it comes up like 10 millimeters thick, so we have to resize it. I'm going to look at the dimensions, 593 by 305, so like 59 by 30, 60 by 30. So we'll just keep that in mind. We'll try to keep those dimensions. Oh, I'm going down instead of over. There we go. Now it's over. Yeah, we'll just set these dimensions. We'll go to 60 by 106. Yeah, that'll be close to the original dimensions. Now we'll bring the height down. We don't need it 10 millimeters thick. I think we want to do this the whole logo about a 1/4 inch thick, which is 6 millimeters. So we'll take this down to 3 millimeters. So that'll be half the thickness of the logo. Then we'll go in and we'll choose the main logo to put on top. Right, that's the basic logo. We'll import that. Again, it's going to come out really huge. We don't really need to remember the dimensions on this one because we'll just make it fit on the background, right? So we got to scroll out a little bit, shrink it down, slide it over. Again, it's 10 millimeters thick, so we're going to bring it down. Let's get in closer. Get an overhead view. That way we can line it up a little bit better. All right, so we're close. Bring the height down to another 3 millimeters, and then we'll raise it up 2 millimeters. So now we're 5 millimeters thick for the overall design. And now we can line it up a little bit better. Right, whatever looks good, however you want it. And that's your overall logo there. Now we can change the colors of each of these objects. And it really doesn't matter in this file. It's just however you want to look at it to contrast the layers. Now we can group them because we're going to export this as one object. So you see it makes it all one color because it counts it as one object now. So we'll select that as one object. We'll go to export, and now we can save it as an STL file. It's going to save it as a 3D STL file, and it puts it in the download folder. It automatically names it. You can change the names. But again, we'll go to the download folder. We'll cut that, and we'll paste it into our working folder so we can keep everything together for this project. And there it is. And then I'll rename it so we know it's not whatever Tinkercad wants it to be. And I'll annotate this as TH logo, and it's grouped, so it's the or with the background. So we know it's basically two pieces put together there, the logo and the background. Right, and then we're done there. Make sure you go back to the menu, the main menu on that, so it saves it. And then we'll go into Prusa Slicer, which was why I used to set up the G code for the actual printer. So we'll go in, we'll hit the plus box there to add an object. We'll find our STL file. We'll open it, and there it is. And that's going to be the same dimensions as it was in Tinkercad. It's not going to resize it here. But we can go down to the right there and resize it. See, it's 106 millimeters wide, 5 millimeters thick. We're going to make it 6. That way it's closer to a 1/4 inch. That's going to change all dimensions since they're locked there. You can see it in inches there on the right. Or you can go millimeters. I go millimeters because that's what pretty much everything's in for 3D printing. We'll go to PLA. I have a whole profile set up for PLA that I use. We'll go 0.2 layer thickness. That's a good compromise of speed and detail. Now we'll go into print settings. Perimeters, 2 is usually sufficient for something this size. You can go more. Solid layers, I like to go a good full millimeter top and bottom. The seam position, you want to, that's, you, you can research all that stuff, but here we go. Fill density, 50% for this. Octagram spiral, that's actually not what I wanted, but we'll go octagram spiral just to show there's other options there. Enable ironing, this will smooth out every layer when it gets to the top to give it a nice smooth finish. I don't like to do the brim unless you need it. 2 loops for the skirt. I use that just to make sure that first layer is bonding before it actually starts printing the first layer. You can change your temperatures here depending on what filament you're using. Cooling, you can turn on the auto cooling. It helps a little bit. And then in printer settings, you can go into printer settings. And that's where you can set, I really just look at the extruder rate. I don't get into all the printer settings there. Then you go down here to slice, bottom right, hit slice, and that'll set up your file. That's your G-code file. And you can move this around. You go up here, slide this slider down, and you can see each individual layer that's going to print. Now, if you want to print this in 2 colors, like I usually print my SLO logos in 2 colors, you want to find the layer where that next section up starts, right? So you got your background, and then you got your letters on top. You want to see where that layer starts, and you want to, that's 1 layer too low. So let's take it out there, move it up 1, insert it there. So this will prompt the printer to stop at that layer, back out the filament, and wait for you to load the other color, and then tell the printer to continue. Right, so you see it drops in a color change code right there. And then Prusa here, you can change how it looks on here. It's not going to change anything at the printer. It's just for display here. So you can see there, that's how it's going to end up coming out. Your background color, and then it's going to stop at that 1 layer and wait for you to change it. This is what the octagram spiral looks like on the inside. So it's a little faster. It does a little spiral thing instead of going back and forth and all that. So it'll print up to that 1 layer, back it out, wait for you to change the color, and then it'll just wait for you to tell the printer to continue, and then it'll finish up. So we hit export G code down the bottom right, and then wherever you want to save it. I like to change the file name. So at the beginning of the file name, I'll put what type of filament I'm using, PLA or PETG. That way when it comes up on my printer, I'll make sure I'm using the right one for whatever filament I'm using. And we save that. You can save the project to export G code. Once you insert a card reader into your computer, it'll also show a little button down on the export G code button to save it to the card or export to the card. And then I just make sure all these files are saved, right? All these projects are saved too, so you can get back in them quickly without having to load these objects in separately again if you want to do them again. So I save all these in their programs as projects, all in the same folder, so I can find everything later. Again, Tinkercad saved. And that's pretty much it, start to finish. Took me like 15 minutes. And we're ready to print.